gosh, that cell phone.
In address from President Biden, he's set to deliver it in prime time. Our coverage will begin at 7 p.m. Eastern. This is his first State of the Union address since the big change here in Washington. Republicans taking over the House of Representatives last month. Biden's not wasting any time preparing. You see there he's tweeted out getting ready with a copy of the speech there. He did that earlier today. So the president's, he's going to talk about some legislative policy wins that he has on infrastructure and green energy and the like, but he's got some work to do with the American people. Just take a look at that number again. Our new ABC News Washington Post poll, we asked, are you better off, worse off, about the same financially since Joe Biden became president? 41% say they are worse off, just 16% better off. So let's bring in Republican Congressman Pete Sessions, represents Texas's 17th congressional district. Spent a lot of time there covering President Bush because that's where his home was, outside of
Waco,
Crawford,
Texas.
Waco, and that's where I spent a lot of time.
You
there.
bet.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
What do you expect? What do you want to hear from President Biden? What do you expect to hear from President
Well,
Biden?
what I'd like to hear President Biden talk about is how he's going to work with Congress and the American people. Did I say the word bipartisan? Okay, bipartisan. That's something that seemingly is sometimes popular from time to time. But I think that inflation and the border are the biggest decision-making points that the American people focus on, and that is because of we're paying more. It takes about $5,000 a year more for the families of this country to make up for what they did before when the president took office. And the border is a terrible, terrible problem for law enforcement, with cartels, with people. Big cities, that's a problem. But in every city, it's a problem with drugs and death. And I think that the reality would tell me that he could find a way to pivot more on those two issues.
That's obviously Texas on the front line there. On the economy, Speaker of the House, the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, is going to talk about the debt limit later, raising the debt ceiling. Our poll and others have found that what seems to be the Republican approach is we're going to lift the debt ceiling unless we get spending cuts. That's not very popular. I think our poll showed 65% believe that those issues should be handled separately. Lifting the debt ceiling, cutting federal spending. What are you going to do given what seems to be the public mood on this?
Well, we do have to deal with that. But in reality, there are easy answers to this. The Speaker is dealing with a brand new majority that has their ideas. I've given my ideas about this. But the bottom line is, spending is a problem. We're not going to touch Social Security. We're not going to touch Medicare. But we can touch the size of government and government efficiency. The IRS, as an example, got 88,000 more employees. Why did we go 88,000? That's because that's what they could yield. How about if we take that and say, let's have hearings on that. Let's hold that up. And instead of necessarily cutting spending, we just don't implement new things.
Yeah, you just said hold hearings on that. You were chairman of the Rules Committee.
Yes.
You know, Congress has changed a lot. There's one bill basically every year that does the business of the government, right, and the committees have become almost an irrelevancy. That was one of the issues that I think was in the leadership election. Do you expect that to change? I mean, do you expect there to be a more normal Congress? And what would it mean for policy and for getting things done here?
Well, the changes that take place in House rules that Republicans accepted and did is an interesting way to look at what the problems are. The bottom line is that Chairman of the Rules Committee, now the great Tom Cole, who's from Oklahoma, is going to have to deal with handling a lot more ideas. Aren't ideas good? Well, does it mean that we have to take all day on a bad idea? The answer is no. We adapted ourselves, just like we did when I was chairman, to 2-minute voting. They get their time on the floor, and that's really what people want. There are a lot of people in my conference, especially new people, who want to make sure that every idea is vetted, Republican and Democrat, and it will impact us all the same.
So it will change a little bit.
I think it could. It's whether it takes us down or not. I don't think it will take us down.
Right.
I think it's a reasonably good idea.
All right. We'll see if it has. Let's pivot to foreign policy, which was over our skies for a few days. The Chinese spy balloon. What impact do you think? How are people processing that? What does it tell you about the threat and our ability to respond to it?
Well, when the word spy balloon was added to, there's a balloon overhead, and then the word Chinese. I think it impacted the American psyche a lot. We're aware of in our past of this thing called EMP, how some explosion at 60,000 feet could devastate our infrastructure, our communications, our national security. And that's the first thing that came into many people's minds. Why would we possibly want something as large as a balloon of 2 city bus size that is gathering data, sending it back? Why did we let them come in here, and why did we wait so long to exit them? But there are things that this administration, I think, caught up on very quickly, and that is the American people were outraged.
You are now in the majority in the House of Representatives, the Republicans, but not by much, right? It's pretty small majority. People expected a bigger one, and the midterms elections interpreted as a kind of verdict on a kind of republicanism, a Trump-y republicanism. Is that the way you read it?
Well, I think the way I read it as former chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, when we won net 63 instead of plus 5 or 6, right, is that the effort at the end came down to a lot of people believed that there would be a big, what was called red wave. And our candidates performed that same way. Rather than understanding, in the last 2 weeks, it's undecideds and perhaps moderates who could swing, the swing vote. And you can't act like you're going to win. You have to act like you want to serve and be with them. And I think we could have had more adult conversation in that world, which would have been a different result.
Votes are still in the middle in America.
Votes are, if you act like you're going to win and going to do something as opposed to working with people, they don't like that. They want you to work with them. They want a brighter day in the future. And I think you've got to sell that as opposed to what you want to stop. It's where you want to go.
Sounds good. Congressman Sessions, thanks very much for being with us.
Enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.